If you want to talk about superficial, though, symbolism over substance, let's look at these. Uh, this particular show called the January 6th committee hearings. I took a gander at them on and off. I've watched them. They they actually look ridiculous. I thought they'd be akin to the McCarthy hearings, but they're
I think
worse.
they talked
They're
about
more.
putting. They're going to put what's his name? Kissinger. Is
Oh
that the
yes.
kid's name? They're going to
Oh
put he and Liz Cheney in thongs to
oh
do the testimony.
Kinzinger.
I
That's
think
it.
that'll help.
Kinzinger.
Yeah,
That's it.
I think the thong thing will draw a lot of audience. Just saying. I
Well,
think that's
yeah.
the way to go.
First
Just
off,
saying.
it's not a bipartisan hearing. The McCarthy hearings were more of an inquisition. This is a clown show. I hate to use the term that everybody else has been using for a long time. This is ridiculous. It reminds me of what Adam Schiff and company tried to pull with the impeachments and the whole thing
It's
about
the
the
same people, Chris. It's the
yeah.
same people.
But
It's
it's
the same
but
people.
it's mostly hearsay. This stuff wouldn't be admissible in any court whatsoever.
That's why they won't turn it over to DOJ. Benny
Right.
Thompson will not turn it over because I think they recognize that if they turn it over, there's probably going to be things that DOJ has to investigate regarding methods Congress used to get the information. So let's be clear on this. I've said in several interviews and in some talks I've given, all you need to know about the January 6th issue is listen to Liz Cheney's opening. Everything you need to know is in that 30 minutes because it outlines their premise, it outlines their interpretation, and it shows in black and clear black and white what they're leaving out. Because everything she says is bereft of any facts that relate to the balanced judgment. Most important is Nancy Pelosi and Muriel Bowser, mayor of DC, turning down support, resources, National Guard forces that were offered by President Trump. That's all you need to know. It's like we're forces. This is, I mean, the whole thing could go away with three questions. Did President Trump offer significant military resources prior to the 6th January event? The answer is absolutely. Secondly, what did Nancy Pelosi do during the events of that day, and did she request the contingency forces, which were on call and on campus? They were in the Ford office building. Did she request the JSOC Special Operations Force come in to secure the Capitol? No, she did not. And third, and most importantly, what, if anything, did the DOJ actually do regarding prompting the events? That is to say, Ray Epps and others, were there other federal assets, not agents necessarily, but assets involved in helping establish the insurrection? The answer, of course, we know is yes. If you answer those three questions honestly, then you're done. We're done. It was not an insurrection. It was something prompted by elements of the government for purposes of creating the perception of an insurrection. That's it.
Oh, did you hear about what happened with the Stephen Colbert camera crew
Insurrection.
trying
That's
to break into
insurrection.
this?
Yeah.
By definition, the same thing they're saying. You can say this is an insurrection as well.
Right.
Well, it happened again, which is what we call a resurrection.
Well, but they were also banging on doors of Congress members that had nothing to do with this. It's embarrassing.
At least it wasn't a penetration. So at least I know of. That I know of. It could have been, but we don't know because we weren't there for that event at that time. But it could have been.
I'm sure it could be argued that the obstruction of the Kavanaugh hearings could have been the same thing, but that was actually witnessed, and nobody was opening the doors for these people except
Right.
they had a ticket. But that's a different story for a different day. The fact is, there are people, and these same people. This is another thing that really bothers me. The same people that are screaming 1-6, 1-6 after mocking Republicans for referring back to 9/11 when it came to safety and security of the nation, national security, that is. We're the same people who are screaming 1-6, 1-6 now were the ones supporting the George Floyd riots, burning down minority neighborhoods, and now supporting the intimidation of Supreme Court justices. That's something we just can't have today because this happens now. This is allowed now. What happens to our judicial system 10, 20, 30 years from now?
Well, if I may, I'd like to frame it in the proper context. So what you have is an element of the left, the progressive left, which has decided that their voice is more important than everyone else's voice, and that includes members of their own party. and that they feel that violence is an adequate and effective tool to use. And I don't believe that. I believe that is the thing that needs to be focused on. Their willingness to use violence as a political tool and a means of speech. Jimmy Dore is a guy, a comedian on the left who I watch all the time. Jimmy's a great guy because he calls out their side constantly for this very thing. He and Tucker Carlson, I think, did something recently where he pointed out the fact that while they're diametrically opposed on a lot of issues, this is one of them they can agree upon. So should we. I think is that the fact is that the left, the progressive left, elements of the progressive left have now permitted their side to absorb and use violence. And this isn't the mainstream because Merrick Garland doesn't do anything about it. Nancy Pelosi doesn't say anything about it. Joe Biden, I think, has encouraged it. Kamala Harris actually funded getting violent felons out of jail in Minneapolis. So to me, the moment you accept violence, you've become essentially someone who needs to be held accountable, period. It doesn't matter if you're a member of any political party. And right now, the only political party I see using violence as political speech is the left. And I think that's something that we should all be concerned about and do something about.
I do have a question from one of our viewers, Deepwoods Creations, asking, Anthony, did they approach you about 1-6? If you can answer. If you can answer.
I know. As a matter of fact,
you were there, but you were there beforehand. All this.
I was.
Happened.
I was. So the answer is no. The answer is I've been contacted by members of the media who did testify, and I politely said I have said everything I have to say about those events and the election issues that led up to them. But no, I am fortunately, if you use Kevin Bacon, the 5 degrees of Kevin Bacon, I am fortunately about level 3 outside of the proximity.
By congressional impeachment standards, that counts.
Well, I'm sure my communications have been collected relating to the 6. I know that for a fact. I know that a certain investigation and a certain phone call from a guy named Bill Barr was brought up at some point. But I don't think anybody wants to talk about why Bill called me. Just saying, it's like, yeah, I'd be more than happy to talk about it, but I don't think they want to have that conversation. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but it's like, yeah, and the fact that there's very little, I'm not saying there's no curiosity. I'm saying the fact is neither side seems to really want to go down that path about Bill Barr calling me, and I don't know why. But
well, by the way, Tony, you went with your wife that day, right?
She was there, yes.
So nobody can accuse you of having any violent intentions if you brought your wife to the party.
Well, a lot of folks brought their wives, and I've said this on the record, and I'm saying it again now. It was a carnival environment. Because I was on the Trump campaign, the Trump National Security Advisor, I didn't go to a lot of campaign events. I felt obligated to focus on doing my job, not being at rallies. So this was the first time I went to one, the 6th January one. So I was happy to see that during the speeches on the ellipse, that it was like everybody was having a great time. I mean, the atmosphere is very light. There was no anger. There was no angst. It was like, people are there to have their voices heard. So something happened between the time of the speeches and what happened at the Capitol. And I believe that there were people in the crowd like Ray Epps. I keep mentioning Ray Epps because I think, he's on the video prompting all sorts of intrusions. If he's not prosecuted, that means he was part of it, part of whatever DOJ was doing. And that tells me the DOJ was very much influencing this. So most people I knew would never have even thought about going into the Capitol because it wasn't like necessary. It was just to have your voices heard, not to institute any sort of attack against the process. So.
Thank you for watching this clip of Thought to Action Live, presented by the Herb London Center for Policy Research. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the big red bell for updates so you know when we're putting anything out. Also, check out our Teespring store and our website, londoncenter.org. The Teespring store has all sorts of Pretty cool stuff we put out there. We have new t-shirt designs coming out soon and much more. The link is in our description. You can watch our full live stream on our Patreon channel, patreon.com/thoughttoaction. That's patreon.com/thoughttoaction. Once again, that link is also in the description. Also, as a member of our Patreon page, you can see sneak previews of our programs, watch them before anybody else. Exclusive content will be available, and you'll have access to our full Ask Us Anything sessions where we answer your questions. Once again, thank you very much for watching this clip of our live stream. Stay informed and make your day a great one.